It's 10:30 on Tuesday, the 17th of November. You're watching UTV Live tonight. Good evening, I'm Paul Clark. Welcome to the programme. Police stop and search operations under the Terrorism Act have soared again, with the dissident threat at its highest level in 6 years. But how effective are they? We hear from the police on why they do work. Police stop and search operations are at their highest level in years. Over the last 3 months, the number of checkpoints have soared by almost 200%. The PSNI insists it's a key tool in the fight against dissident Republicans. Yet out of more than 10,000 people who were stopped at checkpoints, there were just 39 arrests, and none of those was in connection with terrorism. But police say they did prevent attacks. Our reporter Sharon O'Neill has the story.
At the height of the Troubles, scenes like this were all too familiar. But these checkpoints are in place 11 years after the Good Friday Agreement, when many would have thought they'd seen the last of stop and search. The reason they're still taking place is the dissidents. And as that threat increases, the number of searches has skyrocketed. From July the 1st to the end of September, 10,265 people were stopped and searched under the Terrorism Act. That's nearly a 200% rise on the previous 3 months. There were 39 arrests. Were any of those terrorist related?
Not that I'm aware of. These will all be for small and sundry matters that come to attention when you actually go out and you actually stop and involve yourself with that. It was so many people in the community. So it isn't, in effect, did it actually tackle the root cause of the terrorism? It in itself doesn't, but the effect it has dissuades those who want to move around from doing so. The information we had justified that. And we also can't say, because you can't measure what doesn't actually happen, but our assessment is that that action that we took did stall activities, it did cause certain people to stop moving around, and it did thwart some plans moving forward to fruition.
Under Section 44 of the Terrorism Act, police don't have to suspect you of anything to stop and search you. For years, many people have questioned the effectiveness of this type of policing, and there are now growing demands for it to be consigned to history.
As part of the Good Friday Agreement negotiations, there was supposed to be a move away from emergency law, certainly the use of it. In actual fact, it was supposed to be taken off the statute book, and this is something that we're still calling for. It's unfortunate that it still hasn't happened.
The powers under Section 44 are particularly wide-ranging, and in any free and liberal society, you do want to make sure that people have the right to go about their own business without interference. Having said that, where you're faced with a threat from people that are intent on doing harm to society, you do need to have appropriate measures to counter that.
The PSNI is saying a deterrent, and I think the evidence is yet to be presented that it is. What we do know it is impacting on community confidence.
Police admit it's challenging to that confidence, but still essential, and say most of the checkpoints are intelligence-driven.
This was a tactic which we felt obliged to use to try and inhibit those who were wanting to move around the province to cause real harm, to cause death and destruction within the province. This was a tactic to try and thwart that, but it did have the desired effect, the initial effect that caused us to switch on in the first place, which was a real fear round about what might be happening by those groups who want to cause harm in the communities.
Areas where dissidents are more active have been targeted in this latest clampdown. Almost half of those stopped and searched by police were in County Londonderry, more than 2,000 people in Foyle, 1,300 people in Strabane, almost 750 people in Limavady, and 200 in Magherafelt. But there were only 5 arrests.
When you look at Larne, there's been 1 stop and searches in Larne over a 3-month period. Look in Banbridge, 2 over a 3-month period, and yet there's over 2,200 in Derry over a 3-month period. One has to ask, are they all necessary? Are they being done in a proportionate manner? And when I talk to people in my community of Craigan and Shantala who have witnessed these stop and searches, they have concerned about the manner in which they're carried out.
Our argument has always been that emergency law is counterproductive and that it tends to cause alienation. It turns people away from the rule of law and can be used as a kind of a tool for harassment. and that's been the case in the past. We wouldn't like to see that happening in the future.
Of course, it's a tactic which we must have and use in great moderation. We will continue to use it in moderation as and when the need requires, but we would much rather the need didn't require in the first place.
The last significant dissident attack was just weeks ago. The partner of a police officer was injured when a bomb exploded under her car, just yards from police headquarters in Belfast. Yet another sign of the lengths dissidents will go to kill. And as long as that threat remains, the checkpoints will stay. Sharon O'Neill, UTV Live Tonight.